What 100% fact is the hardest to believe? Sharks are older than the rings of Saturn. The reason there are so few mummies left is because back in the Victorian era, they ate most of them. https://www.smithsonianmag.com/history/the-gruesome-history-of-eating corpses as medicine 823602884. That we're all going to die one day. It's such an obvious thing. Time is always moving forward, and as it does, we fade. It's a simple part of life, but it's just so difficult to grasp, that one day I'll be no more, that everyone I have ever known will be gone to that great unknown beyond this mortal coil. If atheists are true, and there is nothing beyond this, then I have to wonder what non-existence feels like, to no longer be. To no longer perceive or be perceived. To be less than even the smallest speck. To be absolutely nothing at all, incapable to think, feel, comprehend. No matter how hard I try, I can't understand not being able to feel, smell, see, know the passage of time, to not be, and it scares me more than anything else. Seth MacFarlane had a ticket for Flight 11 on 9/11. He ran late due to a hangover, missing the flight by only 10 minutes. There are more libraries in the US than McDonald's or Starbucks. Every atom of iron in your blood was formed in the core of an exploding collapsing star, millions of years ago, millions of miles away. Chainsaws were invented for childbirth and were hand-cranked. 105 billion people have lived so far. 7.9 billion of us are currently alive. The leading cause of death for pregnant women is murder. The Australian funnel web spider is often regarded as the world's deadliest and hasn't had a confirmed kill in over 40 years since the anti-venom was created. The country of Greece didn't exist until 1830. In ancient history, the population was spread out into individual city-states that had different culture. For 60 million years, there was no bacteria, fungus, anything to decompose trees. They just got crushed under the weight of other dead trees. This is where about 90% of coal comes from. That coconuts kill more people per year than sharks. 2/3 of Canada's population lives south of Seattle. Blue bananas exist. I'm still in awe that mantis shrimp can punch with the force of a .22 caliber bullet. Orca are the most effective predator of moose. Philadelphia cream cheese is made in New York and has zero ties with Philadelphia. 100% of your direct genetic ancestors lived long enough to successfully reproduce. There's less time between Lincoln's second inauguration and Joe Biden's birth than there is between Biden's birth and his own inauguration. When Harriet Tubman was born, Thomas Jefferson was still alive. When she died, Ronald Reagan had already been born. Time is short. There are more ways to arrange a standard deck of cards than atoms that make up the Earth. 0.52. 52 factorial. There are only 25 blimps in the entire world. In 1995, a man robbed 2 banks at gunpoint. He was arrested mere hours later because he didn't wear a mask. Instead, he decided to coat his face in lemon juice because he read that lemon juice can be used to make invisible ink. His logic was that it would make his face invisible. And reportedly, he said to one of the tellers, "Don't worry, I have a face, it's just invisible." The only thing he did when he was arrested was sigh dejectedly and say, "But I wore the juice." His case is actually still in academic journals regarding the fact that people with low intelligence do in fact believe that they're smarter than everyone else. The healthy human ear makes a sound back when it receives certain frequencies. It's called an otoacoustic emission and it is used to test newborn hearing. https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/otoacoustic_emission. I used to work for a research lab at Northwestern University that studied diagnostic applications. As a vet tech, I learned that when a dog has an eye ulcer, we draw their blood and spin it down and take the serum to use as eye drops. We put dogs' own blood in their eyes to heal it. It took humans more time to go from copper swords to steel swords than steel swords to nuclear bombs. Double slit experiment. 1/6 of the world's living languages are only spoken in New Guinea. The Library of Congress has sex tape audio of JFK. That the reason there are petrified trees is because fungus hadn't evolved to break them down. The world would be much different without it. That 0.5% of the world's population are descendants from Genghis Khan, 40 million people. If there's 23 people in a room, there's a 50% chance to share the same birthday. You'll never see yourself the way others see you. One that was mind-boggling for me was that up to 150 species of animals go extinct every day. That dinosaurs actually really existed. My mind still can't perceive that those animals walked where we are living right now. They seem so fictional when I think about them. Bananas are berries. There's a bigger time gap between Stegosaurus and Tyrannosaurus than Tyrannosaurus and now. 1–3% of your body weight is the bacteria that live in and on you. They outnumber your own cells by about 10x. 10th U.S. President John Tyler has a living grandson. The state of Wyoming only has 2 escalators. There are 169 octillion 518 septillion 829 sextillion 100 quintillion 544 quadrillion. Approximately 1.70 x 10 to the power of 29. Ways to play the first 10 moves in chess. Additionally, the number of distinct 40-move games in chess is far greater than the number of electrons in the observable universe. The average male height in the US is less than 5 feet 10. Every time you shuffle a deck of cards, that particular order of cards has almost certainly never existed before, of all the decks of cards ever shuffled in history. The Inca invented brain surgery. They were able to remove parts of the brain successfully. There are more trees on Earth than stars in the Milky Way. Roughly by a factor of 10. That used to be nothing more than 2 separate cells in 2 other humans' bodies. Nintendo was founded in 1889. Dragonflies accelerate at up to 4G and corner at up to 9G. Narwhals for me. It's so unbelievable to me. I teach my middle schoolers that they are indeed real. It's very important that they not make it into their 30s thinking unicorn of the sea meant it was just as fake as a unicorn. Häagen-Dazs has no meaning in any language. It was meant to sound European. It was started by Reuben Mattis, a Polish immigrant to New York who sold fruit ice and ice cream from a horse-drawn cart. There is more death than money in the world. The circulatory system, arteries, veins, and capillaries, is more than 60,000 miles long. The polarizing filter experiment. Polarizing filters block certain orientations of light. If you place 2 polarizing filters in series oriented at 90 degrees to each other, they will block 100% of the light. But if you add one more filter in the middle, oriented at 45 degrees to both, some light gets through all of them. You added a filter that blocks light to a system in which all the light was blocked, and it allowed more light to get through. It does block all the light if the 45-degree filter is in front or back though. The order matters. The light knows. How? Why? 98% of everything is hydrogen and helium. The US has a 1.4 billion pound cheese surplus. It's all stored in the cheese cave in Missouri. Edit. Okay, I think if we can harness the energy of the people who stormed Area 51, we could easily liberate the cheese. A man, Michel Lotito, ate an entire airplane. It took him 2 years. It's a tough choice between the fact that time runs slower at your feet than at your head, assuming you spend more time sitting or standing than lying down, and the fact that something can be in 2 or more places at once. 6969 Cool Street, Weedsport, NY is actually a real address. That a spy named Joan Pujol Garcia was awarded the highest honor of service from both the Allies and Axis in the Second World War. Wade Boggs drank 50 beers on a cross-country flight and then absolutely destroyed the Seattle Mariners the next day. Ciabatta bread was invented in 1982. It's advertised and perceived as this traditional, rustic Italian bread that peasants must have enjoyed, but nope, created in the 1980s. Everything we see is upside down and our brain flips it so it's easy to get around. Lightning bolts can reach temperatures 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. MLK liked to watch Star Trek with his kids, on a color TV. Mammoths were alive when the Great Pyramid was being built. A moose can dive underwater down to nearly 20 feet in search of food. Oxford University is older than the Aztec Empire. That we are all made of stardust. Every atom in your body and on this planet was once fused by a star. Edit. As someone pointed out below, all the atoms other than hydrogen are made of stardust. Hydrogen atoms come from the Big Bang. Still, every atom in our bodies and in this universe is either from the Big Bang or stars. MLK and Anne Frank were both born in the same year, but we associate them with vastly different time periods. From the time it was discovered to the time it lost its status as a planet, Pluto made it less than a third of the way around the Sun. The distance the amount of DNA in your body stretches if laid end to end, I think it's something ridiculous like to the moon and back 4 times. The last person from the 1800s to die, died in 2017. The closest U.S. state to Africa is Maine. The entirety of continental South America is further east than Detroit, Michigan. The loudest sound in recorded history was the Krakatoa volcanic eruption of 1883. It ruptured the eardrums of people more than 40 miles from the epicenter, created a sound wave that circled the globe 7 times, and could be heard all the way in New York City, a short 10,000 miles away. Quantum physics. I believe it, but it's clearly magical. Eyeball and vagina are self-cleaning. You're terrified of the wrong things. Your chance of being in a plane crash is 1 in 11 million. Even if you are in one, your chance of surviving is 95%. Flying in a plane is actually one of the single safest things you can do. The reason that, and there were no survivors, crashes make the news and stay there for months is that they're extremely rare. U.S. airlines collectively had 11 crashes total in 2020. Yes, you read that right. 11. None of which were fatal at all. You're massively more likely to be struck by lightning. Even that isn't all that deadly. 9/10 people struck by lightning survive. Everybody is terrified of children being kidnapped by strangers. This is another thing that is actually pretty rare. Most kidnappings that do happen involve close family. The rest is mostly by people the children know. The most common cause of kidnapping is actually parental, usually involving some kind of custody dispute. Generally speaking, this will have no danger to the child at all. Statistically speaking, the most dangerous thing to a child is a step-parent. Even then, however, the chance of a child being kidnapped is 1 in 300,000. It just isn't something that happens often. This is again something that makes the news, as it isn't a common occurrence but also resonates with people. Yes, it's incredibly awful when something terrible happens to a child, but fortunately it isn't a common thing. Shark attacks are also statistically extremely rare. There are usually only a few more than 100 every year. Sharks aren't terribly interested in eating people. Usually if they attack a person, it's because visibility was low and the person looked like its prey somehow, or the person pissed it off. What should you be afraid of? Sugar. Seriously. Fucking sugar. Read about all the horrible things that eating a lot of sugar does to you. It makes you far more likely to die of every leading cause of death that exists. It's actually one of the leading causes for decreased lifespan in modern society. The more we started eating sugar, the less healthy we got and the more our life expectancy flattened. While the rest of the world is getting better, in the Western world we're killing ourselves with sugar. The concept of gravity. The more I learn about it, its properties, the math involved, how it interacts with time, the more it just seems like magic. There is enough water in Lake Superior to cover North and South America in water 1 foot deep. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima on a business trip, and on the day he was supposed to leave, the atomic bomb dropped. He survived with minor injuries and returned to his home in Nagasaki, where he went to work 3 days later. As he was describing his experience to his supervisor, the second bomb was dropped and he survived without any injuries. He ended up living into his 90s. Nintendo was founded the same year Hitler was born, 1889. In about 5 billion years our galaxy will collide with the Andromeda Galaxy. That nothing touches anything really. On a molecular level, the electron's negative charge repels other electrons in other objects, and nothing really touches. Even your fingers, pushing them hard up against each other, actually doesn't touch. Clouds weigh hundreds of thousands of pounds, full of water, effortlessly floating above our heads. No support, no structure, just weight, floating around above us, and we're like, yep, totally believable, because they're clouds, duh. Dinosaurs are older than grass. Every artist rendition you've seen of them roaming fields is wrong. Most ground-level plants were ferns or flowering bushes, not grass. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.